Hello, welcome to the latest episode in ARC's TravelConnect virtual series. I'm Lauri Reishus, President and CEO of ARC, and today I am joined by two special guests. First, welcome to Susan Lichtenstein, Managing Partner of DigiTravel Consulting, and Dorian Stonie, Senior Director of Global Travel at Salesforce. They're here to talk with me about all things omnichannel retailing. Welcome to you both.
Thanks, Lauri.
Thank you.
All right, so let's just jump in. Here at ARC, we see omnichannel retailing as the next step for the travel industry in creating an optimal traveler experience while giving global travel managers more of what they need. So I want to hear from you both. What does omnichannel retailing mean to you, and how, in your relative roles in the industry, are you helping to promote it and its adoption in the travel industry? Let's start with Susan.
Thanks, Lauri. So omnichannel is certainly a passion of mine, and it really is a simple pattern. Simple pattern. Basically, it's just a multiple booking channel system to enable your travelers to book any way that makes them comfortable. I think the key to it is, and I think, Dorian, you said this yesterday, which was beautiful. The key to this is that you gain more control of your program and not less control of your program. So what a great travel leader needs is the right data at the right time so they can manage their program 100%. And today, unfortunately, tickets that are booked or hotels or anything booked directly, you lose that. You lose that because they're not in an omnichannel program. In an omnichannel program, there's no such thing as being out of the program or out of policy. You've now built yourself a multiple channel booking system that allows you to get data from anywhere, anytime, from every place at the point of sale.
So visibility and control is what I'm hearing, really kind of the overarching themes of the benefits of that
exactly.
Program. How about you, Dorian? What's your definition, and what are you up to bring omnichannel to life?
Yeah, no, I'll tell you, I would put this in the category of another major paradigm shift in our industry. Mm-hmm. You look at the travel industry over the last 30, 40 years, we seem to go through paradigm shifts every 5 to 10 years. And this is everything from introductions of the GDSs to things like commission caps and transaction fees to electronic ticketing to online booking tools. And I think omnichannel, whether you classify it as NDC, API, open sourced, is also bringing really three major, I think, advancements to our travel programs. First is our travelers. It's going to provide a broader level of services and allow us as travel managers to work with our suppliers to bring more content to them in real-time basis. From the company perspective, we're going to be getting better data. We're going to be seeing an increased compliancy because we're no longer just limited to one channel that we're trying to mandate, and then we have all that rogue or invisible travel around the periphery. We'll capture more data out there while delivering a better service to our travelers. And then for my travel team, it's an opportunity to innovate and to help raise the bar, mm-hmm. and to provide a better service, something that for our travelers, as we always say, we want our travelers using our travel program, not because it's mandated, but because they want to be able to use it. So it gives us for a little bit flexibility and incentive to try to raise the bar.
You both have spoken a little bit about some of the misconceptions. Susan, you mentioned that sometimes people think omnichannel means lack of control or less control, where you're arguing that it's actually the opposite. And Dorian, you've talked about some of the benefits. And I think you're framing, Dorian, of a paradigm shift. And for those of us that have been in the industry for a long time, we've lived through many of those. Is an excellent way of thinking about it. And paradigm shifts are often hard because there's a lot of misconceptions. And so I'd be interested to hear, from both of you, what you think are some of the common misconceptions that are creating maybe a hesitancy or even a confusion about, is omnichannel something I even want to think about? I guess I'll go back to Susan on that one.
Yeah. So I think one of the things, so we get my company and my team and I have a lot of companies and suppliers come to us and ask to help in the situation. And we're not really sure to take that first step. And I think the first questions we get all the time are, how will I get my rate? How will I get my discount? If we let them go off and book their own, they'll book first class tickets, instead of coach tickets. And I won't be able to watch them. And I just came from a large corporation such as Dorian in this situation of managing a lot of countries at the same time. And I think he'd agree with me. We're not really watching, every second of every day what everybody does. So the generations are three span now, right? We've got the millennials, the major generation in the company right now. We've got Generation Z coming up, and they're not really into the micromanagement of anything, yet alone booking a ticket for travel. So I love that Dorian just enables all three of those generations in his company. But the misconception of I'm not going to get is all about that control, right? Yes, today's systems can enable you to book any way. So you want to book on an online tool? Great. You want to use an agent? Great. And if you want to book direct, you will get your corporate rate. You will get your corporate discount, whether it's an airline or a hotel. All of those systems have been taken care of already. And you will get your data at the point of sale, not a day later, not 30 days later. So think about the enormity of that. Think about, hey, no matter how a traveler books in my company, I'm going to have that data as it happens. That's much more control of information, which is really what they need. They need to control the information, not the traveler. On the other side, it's like the biggest secret. If you go to hotels, the CEOs are publicly stating, we need more direct bookings. We can't afford all these commissions and overrides. And the airlines are like, we'd like more direct bookings, but it's a secret because nobody wants to upset those third parties. And we haven't figured out how everybody's going to make money and what the new business model is going to look like. So on the supplier side, it's like, how do I do this without upsetting the apple cart? But the apple cart's upset. Dorian said it's happening. It's happening now. There's actually a hashtag, and the smarter companies are preparing for that.
Yeah, I think what you're describing, Susan, this misconception that you can't have your policy, there's policies exist for a reason, right? People do want policies in place and the rates that they've negotiated in place, and those are available. Those capabilities are available today, and maybe that's one of the biggest misconceptions of all. Dorian, I didn't mean to interrupt you. What did you want to add on that? What do you see as the misconceptions?
No, loss of data is always one of those. The increased cross policy controls. Another big one is around duty of care. And we will not have visibility on where people are traveling. And when we talk about omnichannel, we're looking at bringing in more channels, whether it be directly with the airlines, directly with the hotels, or in some cases now, especially after this COVID, we're looking at using omnichannel to bring in things like rail, which we did not have visibility before pre-COVID. So I think it's opening up all kinds of opportunities, I think, for us to not only better service our travelers, but more importantly, get more visibility. I've got to admit, one of the other things that we have seen, we use TripLink. And so you can go out to United Airlines and book your reservation. It identifies Salesforce or the traveler as a Salesforce customer. And it's fully integrated into our travel platform. So the travel information cascades down from the traveler to the airline to our OBT to then our TMC and then down to Salesforce. And so we have had much more visibility on not only our US-based travelers, but our global travelers. The one other thing I'd like to also address is, one of the questions is, well, the TMC will not be able to service a reservation in an omni-channel environment. And that could be yes, no, or maybe. There are definitely some lines that you can work with individual suppliers on the ability to provide access to some of those channels, whether it's a direct access or indirect through like a third-party website. But one of the things that we have found in omnichannel reservations that have been booked that have been booked outside our traditional OBT or TMC is travelers tend to swim in their own swim lanes. And when they have booked directly with the airlines through an omni-channel connection, they actually make all of the changes. They are very good at following that path. We get very few calls to the TMC and having them saying, "Oh, we can't support you."
Mhm.
So I think that there's a misperception in the TMC community that it's counter to their business model. Now, I will also say that we have always been very upfront with our TMC. We don't think the TMC's value is in issuing $199 Southwest airline tickets. We want to have them service our travelers for value-added support.
Mhm.
And so on even in omni-channel environments for reservations that may be booked outside of the traditional, we're more than willing to pay them for their services, for their support.
Mhm.
So I think that there are opportunities for all of the players to work in an omni-channel, and we just have to tweak some of the business arrangements and how we manage the cost, et cetera. But overall, it should provide a better level of service, and ultimately, at the end of the day, should help us lower our cost of our global travel program.
Yeah, you talked about so many interesting things there. I'm trying to decide which one to jump on. I I love the way you're thinking about the value of the TMC,
Mhm.
because a TMC and the GDS and online booking tools and hotel suppliers, airline supplier, all the suppliers are all part of the ecosystem. And while there is change management, as you mentioned, to work through, if we can create through stronger partnerships, experiences that customers love, that's only going to create more momentum. And that is really the value of an omni-channel approach. Is it's the next frontier to really delivering better experiences for customers. And we should all be in the business of trying to make that happen. So
Yeah.
really, really good stuff. I think it might be, because this is an ecosystem and there are different stakeholders, it might be interesting kind of just hear your perspectives from the how you see the benefits and opportunities for the various stakeholders, or implications, maybe, if you will, for omni-channel. We do think one of the main benefits is a channel agnostic world. I think travelers will appreciate that. There's times when they want to book direct on their app because that is an amazing experience. There's times when they may need a lot of help because it's a multi-leg international trip, and they really need that travel advisor to plan that trip for them. So if you think channel agnostic, omni-channel, let's kind of start with the airlines. It's ARC, after all. We will talk about hotels as well. But Susan, from the airline perspective, what do you see as the opportunities and benefits?
I've been fortunate to talk to some pretty senior executives in the airlines in the past year and just ask, what's your strategy? What do you really want to do? How is this working out for you? And, their strategy, and Dorian, I'm sure you have the same conversations, their strategy is really, we welcome the direct booking channel. We have the resources, as you know, Lauri, we have the resources to get you back your data. We have your resources to give you your discounts. When somebody comes in, they actually go to what feels like your own page. You actually feel like you're on your own private corporate page when you get there to book directly. You can use your app to do that. Their fear is that we don't want to upset the apple cart, as I mentioned earlier, because the conception is that the TMCs own the booking, right? They own which airline they're going to choose. They own, and that's not true. And so if you even ask the TMCs that I've spoken to, it's not true. The traveler owns the decision based on a policy, based on their company. They're really making that choice. And companies trust their travelers because they would have hired them. Otherwise, they're smart people. So I am the better together girl. I am the one that gets out there and says, we only can fix things together. We can't be apart. And I've been both sides of the business. And I think if we come together and have those strategic conversations where it makes sense, and you said it, Lauri, If 80% of the tickets on an airline are round trip tickets, and these are true statistics, and 79% of those travelers, once they book that first ticket for a company, know what airline they're going to fly and what hotel chain they prefer to stay in, what are we doing? We need to let them do that directly with their airline, with their preferred airline. You know, you're in the West Coast, it's United, right? So with your preferred airline, and then when you and then get that data back at point of sale, and that can be done today. And then the TMC can add value either by supporting that, adding analysis into their program rather than reporting metrics. There's just so many ways for airlines, TMCs, and corporations to work better together than they are apart. And apart, TMCs are going to lose their value. Apart, airlines are going to spend too much money getting business they already have. That kind of amuses me. They're spending a lot of money in marketing on business they already have, right? Instead of just changing the way they do business and spending much less money and more money on the experience, right? Let's move that money to the experience, to the travelers. So the airlines absolutely want more direct booking channels, more to be available. But it's kind of like said behind closed doors, and I would welcome those doors to open up because it's the same thing the travelers want, and it's the same thing the TMCs need. They need that to up-level their game.
You had in our pre-call also talked about hotels. How is it different from the hotel perspective than the airline perspective? Or maybe it's not.
It is a little different only on the fact that airlines are kind of like a fixed commodity, right? You only have so many airlines and so many routes for certain locations. And if you think about the hotel market, there's a lot more competition, right? Per property, do you belong to a chain? Don't you belong to a chain? And hotels pay about 18%. I know it's ridiculous. 18 to 30% if you go to an OTA, override or commission to somebody. So every time that head hits that bed, that money leaves that hotel's pocket. They can't afford that now, you know, especially after COVID. And I think, Dorian, you might agree with this. It's just not sustainable. So if you book directly with the hotel, you could still get your rate. The data's going to come back. The hotel gets back their 18%. And you know how much it costs to go from hospitality clean to hospital clean? Because apparently hospitality clean wasn't very good. So the hospital clean, where we are today, it cost another 15%. So imagine being able to give that back to the hotels where we can. They keep our rooms the way we want them. Travelers are safe. Duty of care is taken care of. Data is taken care of, and hotels get to innovate, grow, and stay in business. That's remarkable. So again, so much cost savings, and you get direct content, and the hotel gets to talk to the traveler directly. It's a beautiful thing.
Very good. Thank you. Okay, so Dorian, you're the natural to talk about the stakeholder group of the corporate buyer. You know, you've already talked about some of the benefits, visibility, actually, you know, more control, better data. But, you know, in addition to that, and happier travelers, I don't know what else there is left to tout as a benefit after all of that. But, you know, I was intrigued with one thing that you said that maybe you could explore with us a little bit more, the ability of your travel team to innovate. That is very powerful stuff. You know, I don't know if in what's happening in your worlds, but in our world, our most talented employees, they don't want to just do rote stuff. They want to be creative. They want to be innovators. They want to, you know, do interesting work. And yeah. I'm really intrigued with that. But anything else in addition to that you might want to comment on, you know, primary stakeholder here, the corporate buyer.
Yeah, you know, I'll add, innovation is also just not around technology. It's also around process service levels. Mm-hmm. One of our major focuses over the last few years, especially since the COVID has hit, is our Traveler 360. And I've been saying this for years. You know, when suppliers come in and talk to us about our travel program, and they talk to us specifically about our business travel, we look at it as you're only talking about half of our travel community, because half of the travel is our business travel. But we also, through our travel community, and that's part of the whole social, mobile, and open philosophy we follow, is we also want to extend service and benefits to our travelers, even when they're not traveling on company business in their personal lives. And you know, in many cases, you know, we have new employees coming on board that may never have traveled on company business before. They might only be taking 1 or 2 business trips, but maybe traveling 3, 4, or 5 times personally before they ever travel for Salesforce. We want to provide them benefits. We want them using our preferred suppliers. And so that when that business trip does come, we don't have to mandate. They don't have to look up our travel policy to see what our preferred suppliers are, air, hotel, or car. They're already using them. And it just becomes a natural extension. And so it's been interesting with this pandemic. And we've been always talking about it. And it's like, okay, yeah, business is good, but clear lines of separation between business and personal. But with this COVID, what has been the first travel group to start coming back? And it has been the personal tourism travel, while our business travel has been grounded. And a lot of our suppliers that have helped us build out that Traveler 360, that have built up the loyalty, the connections, built into our Slack channels and our communities, they've been able to not only retain, but to continue to expand and foster that relationship when people have been working remotely from their offices, waiting to travel personally. Another thing that I think that we're also doing is around the richer content. And when I talk around richer content, this is everything from intelligent air searches, so that when you go in and do a San Francisco to Boston round trip airline search, whether it be through your OBT or your GBT or directly with the airlines, it knows what if you're a gold, platinum, silver status, and the services that that should be coming with your status. So it should be providing you as a traveler a richer experience, because then you don't have to wade through or say, gee, do I get that extra free bag, or can I sit in that aisle or window seat closer to the front? So, I think that from an innovation standpoint, our team can look at ways to say, hey, what are some of the pain points? What are some of the areas of friction? Reduce those. And then also, where can we then find ways to better streamline, make our travelers more productive? How do you make it faster? How do you make it more intuitive? How do you get your travelers onboarded faster so they could be doing their coding or selling or whatever their value add is to the company?
Yeah, and Dorian, I just want to add to that, because process optimization is my gig, and I love it. Digitization, like yours. And not only that, but your team's process optimization is reduced, right? Your team now can get from point A to point B when presenting the data back, if you have this open platform that you have. So you're not like trying to puzzle it together. You're actually able to use all of the data to create a strategy every year that works for you. So that's just brilliant. It's a brilliant piece.
Well, let me also share with you, and this has been really fascinating over the course of the last 6 months, now that we're starting to see people come and starting to travel again domestically. But Omnichannel has actually helped us in scalability and returning to this post-COVID. Because, like most operations, we've been totally grounded for the last 18 months. But now we have to start rebuilding our agent teams. We've got folks that are still on furloughs or have taken severances. You're bringing people back. But while we are rebuilding our TMC support operations, with Omnichannel, we still have the ability, if you can't get a hold of an agent or the hold times are much longer, you can go, in some cases, directly to the airlines, or you could book it through the online booking tool. We're giving travelers options. So it's provided a pressure relief valve for us. So there's not as much, I won't say urgency to rebuild the operations, but it's giving us a little bit more flexibility to rebuild our operations to this post-pandemic new normal.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about the flexibility benefits as well. And I really thought it was interesting, Dorian, how you were talking about the omni-channel strategy of your travel program really being part of what is the culture at Salesforce. It's a reflection of the culture, and of course it's good for your preferred suppliers, but it really isn't part of your employee value proposition, and that's another view or lens to look at omnichannel through that I had not that hadn't occurred to me in the past. So, very, very interesting stuff. All right. So, of course, the most important stakeholder of all is the individual traveler. And both of you have really touched on, some of the prime benefits for them. Is there anything that you'd want to add, either Susan or Dorian, to your earlier comments?
I think it's important, if you're a travel leader today, to open up your stakeholder base if you haven't done that already, especially since you had some downtime in COVID. He brought up that if you're hiring new employees, right, travel is a big part, right? It could be a really good benefit to a traveler, right, when you're trying to hire and putting in the benefits for the whole value of what your company's offering back. Get really involved with your risk team. But at the end of the day, we have to address the multiple generations that are in a company. This is 2021. Corporate travel is really way behind the 8 ball in what the available technology, available processes, available systems that are out there today. But we have this amazing opportunity to let the traveler decide the experience that works best. So there's no reason not to add all booking channels. Like I said, agent, great. You need one sometimes. I mean, if I have a complicated trip, I don't know what I'm doing. I need help. But I've been doing this a long time. If you have an executive team, you're going to want an agent to give you a hand. You don't want to be blamed for anything that goes wrong on that trip. Trust me. And then you have yourself as an individual traveler. You just want to open up all ports. All the data will come back. Everything will happen. But your traveler, especially that millennial and that Generation Z traveler, they're so much smarter about the way they do things. It's fast, it's simple, it's flexible, and it's on a phone, right? Their whole lives are on a phone. And so if you let that experience drive your next set of strategies, it's a win-win for them, a win-win for you, and a huge win for your suppliers. And by the way, if your suppliers win too, right, everybody saves money. Yeah. I know that sounds weird, but if your suppliers are winners and you're a winner, you all reap the benefits of this. But the thing that reaps the most benefits is the traveler.
Yeah, absolutely. Anything you want to add, Dorian?
Yeah, and one of the things I do want to clarify, omni-channel does not necessarily mean you're just throwing the gates open and everyone does what they want. I look at it as adding additional distribution channels that allow us to expand the services and to aggregate the data on the back end. A lot of our travel programs right now, if you actually look at them, are already to a certain degree omni-channel. Mm-hmm. You take a look at your OBT and you've got separate even from NDC discussions, but you've got like API direct connects with airlines like Southwest Airlines. You might have Travel Fusion turned on. So you're bringing in low-cost carriers in Europe. You might be using ClearTrip to bring low-cost carriers on in India, or TripLink, which allows you then to connect with air, hotel, and car suppliers and synchronize your programs. So, I think we're already using it. It's oftentimes very transparent. But I think that there are opportunities for us to continue to keep expanding it. And so it's not just NDC or letting travelers do anything and everything that they want, but I think it's a controlled expansion of our program. I often use the visual of, you think about the traditional travel management was like a funnel, but turned upside down. So you had one small hole at the top, which was traditionally your TMC and your OBT, and the information was cascading down. What we've done is we've turned the funnel upside down, and now we're gathering the data from multiple locations, but then we're aggregating it at the corporate level. So I think for us, it's provided us a lot more visibility. It's provided a richer employee experience, provided more options. And it's allowing us to explore new relationships with all of our air, hotel, and car suppliers to provide a better bundle of services for our company and for our travelers.
Which brings it back to Susan's point. The healthier the partners are in the ecosystem, the more great things they're going to be able to do with their partners and do for travelers. I think we've really hit hard on the benefits. So, and maybe hopefully clarified some of the misconceptions. Really, let's turn our attention to what are still the remaining hurdles? Let's put COVID aside. We know COVID has impacted people's ability to invest, and we've all been putting a lot of attention into things that we didn't expect to have to be dealing with. But, with that aside, knowing that someday is going to be, behind us, what did you see as the primary hurdles? I mean, Susan, I know you work with a lot of clients, so you might have a kind of a overall view of what people are experiencing. Dorian, you've been there, done that. I don't know if you have remaining hurdles. If not, hallelujah. But if you do, if you don't, maybe what were some of the biggest obstacles that you had to get through? Susan, you want to go ahead and start?
So not everybody has the resources that Dorian might have as a top company in the world, right? So if you're a company, travel company with a budget from 1 million, I'm going to say all the way up to 70 million, you probably don't have a team anymore, right?
Mm-hmm.
Since the pandemic, right? It's just the way it is, right? Or travel's been moved someplace to somebody who's buying widgets, right, inside a company. So it's really the biggest hurdle that I see. And they need omnichannel more than anybody, certainly more than the top 10, because they don't have resources, and it would be simpler and easier for them. But how do they get started? Does it cost money? Who can I talk to? And what should we do first, right? And it's like anything else that we've done in the past. And I think you might agree with me that it's really about that first step. How do I take that first step? That's the hurdle. How do I look at my program different than I've ever looked at it before? If I had a magic wand, what's the thing I'm looking for? So we've got like 4 different directions, and really what needs to happen is everybody take a collective and do their yoga in the morning and say, omnichannel. And so I think when we come together as better together as one, we can help. We, meaning all of us who are out there together, you, Dorian, me, you, Lauri, and your group, we can help one day at a time educate that first step, that second step, that third step, to take the complexity out of the conversation into a very simple change in the program. So we've made it so complicated because 6 different voices are coming at us at the same time. And the truth is, this is a very simple change in a very complicated conversation. And I think we need to match the conversation to the change.
One of the things we've learned at ARC over the years is that we're more successful if we take a very small approach, like a small step, a pilot, and we've seen some of that with Omnichannel, organizations doing a pilot. Is that something you typically recommend to your clients, Susan?
So we do get clients that we help take that first step together. And we do say, let's do this in baby steps, right? And one of the easiest ways to take a baby step is take either your road warriors who are going to the same places over and over again, right? Most road warriors know what their travel patterns are going to look like. Or just pull out your round trip tickets and create a pod of just to try it out. It's not going to hurt you. You're just going to get more data than you got yesterday. Search for those guys who are booking direct anyway, and you're not getting their information till the expense time anyway. It's really easy. Run an expense report from 2019, or when you started traveling, get it and run a book report, and boom, there they are. So try to find that pot of travelers and do a quick beta test with them, right? He's going to be changing his rail program, so he's going to need his rail travelers to get on board with that program. Same thing with your simple round trip air tickets, right? Go find that pod, give it a try, set something up that's easy, give it a shot, let them report back how it's going, and then let the traveler make the next decision on the experience.
Very pragmatic advice. Thank you. What about you, Dorian? What did, it's for you, it's more been there, done that, still obviously work ahead, but what have you seen as some of the hurdles that you've had to overcome?
Our journey is not done.
It's never done.
Never
okay.
done.
That's fair. Yeah.
It's all. I mean, and that's the exciting part of our industry. We're in constant change. There is no finish line, unfortunately, because we are keeping pace with the advances in technology, advances in services, and the needs of our companies. I think one of the biggest hurdles that I have seen is within a lot of our peers and colleagues is just the willingness to do a change of mindset. And, it's a normal human element to resist change. But if you actually embrace the change, then I think you have the ability to have more control. It becomes less frightening. You get to see the opportunities that can lay ahead. And I've got to say, I'm part of a number of benchmarking groups, and and NDC has been at the top of our discussions for a number of years. I'm actually starting to see mindset changes where I think before you would be in a group of 20 people and you said, who wants to do omnichannel or multi GDS or an NDC type of thing? And you'd maybe have one or two hands go up. Now, when we start talking about how we're going to be rebuilding after this post-pandemic, I'm hearing a lot less resistance out there. Travel managers are realizing, my God, we have been grounded for the last year and a half plus. Never in our wildest dreams could we have envisioned this type of business environment, but it's forcing us to change. The businesses are changing. And this is not only the travel and hospitality, but our own individual industries, whatever the industry that might be. So I think that I'm really pleased to see that within the travel hospitality industry, this is actually bringing this point to the surface, and more travel managers are now, I'm seeing, more receptive to looking at these options, which is encouraging.
Yeah, it's great to hear that. I've been curious about that. We've been through, and continue to still be through, such a sort of existential crisis, as a world, as a country, as an industry. And I've been curious as to whether people are viewing this as an opportunity to make change, to find that silver lining, or whether it's, just, drained the energy out of everybody to the point where they're just sort of staying, in a retrenched position. I mean, Susan, again, you work with a lot of different clients. Other data points that you would have to share? I mean, I'm excited to hear what Dorian's experiencing in his, benchmarking network. What are you seeing in terms of openness or willingness to adopt?
Yeah, I think people realize in the past year and a half, 2 years, that we've been spending a fortune of money. When I say a fortune, I mean like $1 billion more money going sideways for a really long time, both on the supplier side and the corporate side. We spend a lot of money trying to put all the little cheeky poos into a box, and that box is busted open, right? It's just gone. There's no more box anymore, right? There's not even, like, even saying, you're staying outside the box. There's no more box. So, it's so pleasing, like he said, to see people really moving forward, baby steps forward. But you see all these new kinds of travel services starting, right? You see all these marketplaces opening up, online travel places opening up, different categories starting to come out. I think people are ready to experience what's next, whenever it is, whatever suits them. But the key to going to what's next is knowing where you are today, right? You can't be don't go back and ask for your data about how many people book 14 days in advance. That's nice, and there is money to be saved there, but that's not what you should be searching for. Search for process optimization. Search for the quickest way from A to B. Search for the best way to service your traveler with the most content. Search for the best way to get what you need from your program. Go talk to your sales team and ask them, excuse me, head of sales, what exactly do you need for me to be more successful? And then put that into your strategy, right? And then go back to your suppliers and say, hey, we need this to be more successful. What's the easiest ways for my travelers to do that? And search for data you haven't looked for before. Figure out where you are now, where you want to go on that journey, and then in the middle, take the baby steps to get there. And if you're brave like Dorian, take the leap to get there, which I love about Salesforce. But it's there, it's ready for you, it's not scary, it's fun. It's probably the most exciting time for travel in the last 10 years, at least, that I'm going to say, right? That we have an opportunity to not only join the world in 2021 in doing the right thing, but exceed it, because we have such smart travelers to work with. So
that's great,
I gotta
Susan.
admit, Susan, I love that technical term, chicky poos.
Chicky poos. It's a chicky poos back in the box. I always think of these little things you're chasing around.
Well, listen, this has been a fantastic conversation, and I want to thank you both for joining me today. Is any final words? I mean, Susan's just given us, I think, a really lovely wrap, but I want to turn to you, Dorian. Any final words you want to share with our audience on this really, the subject in which, Salesforce is clearly a leader?
Yeah, no, I think for all of us in the travel industry, the last year and a half, 2 years has given us an opportunity to look at our programs, our businesses with literally a blank slate. And so I think that for us, not only embracing the change, that ability to press the reset button and to think differently, and we have all kinds of opportunities to be able to elevate our programs across the board for our travelers, for our companies, for our suppliers. And I think we're going to look back on this time and go, wow, this was one of those key milestones within the travel industry.
A pivot point. Beautiful. Thank you both again for joining
for
me
having
and the whole ARC team. We really enjoyed our conversation. And thanks for all of you who are listening. You can find this video and all the ARC Travel Connect videos on our ARC YouTube site and at arctravelconnect.com. There's plenty of great content out there on a whole variety of topics. And now we have landed a really juicy episode on Omnichannel. Thanks to you both again, and I hope you have a great day.